All right, if everyone wouldn't mind taking your seat, we'll begin in a moment. Well, first of all, thank you, everyone, for joining us here in person on Zoom. And I know many people were unable to make it this evening, no matter what time, of course, you have it. Work for everyone. So I do want to thank everyone who is coming here in person, who's coming here. How's the audio, Kiva? Too loud? Okay, perfect. I had a perfect voice just until about an hour ago, so there you go. But again, for those of you who are here in person or online, it is being recorded, and we will certainly make that available after the event. So really, my name is Robert Walker, and again, I want to welcome everyone here, however you're joining us tonight, to TechTour in Toronto, Tuesday, October 26th, 7 p.m. at Base Echo Elementary School. First, I just want to go over the schedule for this evening, and then we'll get into the housekeeping a little bit. So first, after my introduction, we'll have our speakers. We have a half a dozen speakers who will speak just for a few minutes each. After that, I'll conclude. And for those of you who are in person, we have a number of tables at the back. If you want to go and ask them questions, you want to schmooze, you want to network, certainly free to do that as well. And you can ask them a little bit about what they do, how they got into it, et cetera, et cetera. So obviously, I would be remiss if I didn't continue first by talking about thanking our sponsors for tonight. I wanted to thank IGAN Partners. I wanted to thank Adelaide IT. I want to thank Eden, 613 Lab, and Anonymous. So thank you very much, everyone, for making this happen, for the rental, for the sponsorship, for advertising. Thank you. So I want to tell everyone a story of how, first of all, I never understand public speaking. They always say you have to start a serious event with a joke. I never really understood what that meant, because if you're starting a levaya or a funeral, you have to start with a joke. But if you're doing a comedy night, maybe you should start with a eulogy. So I never really quite understood the idea of, comedy. So I'll just get right into it. Years ago, I got my first job, or one of my first jobs, in the digital marketing space. And after signing the contract, this is an important proviso, after signing the contract, I asked my boss, I said, why did you hire me? I have zero experience in technology and in digital space. And if my wife would attest, I still don't know how to use our printer. At least this isn't being recorded anyway. But the reality is, I asked my boss, I said, after I signed it, I said, why are you hiring me? I don't have any experience in this space. And he said to me, Rob, here's how he sees it. Other than very specialized work in law, engineering, medicine, math, he said, the reality is all I'm looking for is an intelligent person who's self-driven, who has a critical thinking mind and sort of critical thinking skills. Everything else can be learned, like I said, other than very specific hard skills. And the reality is that's what I learned to be true as well. And so many people, when I was telling them about the event tonight, they said, well, if you can learn Gemara, if you can learn Chumash, you can learn coding, you can learn software development. And I think if there was going to be really one theme of tonight, it would be that. It's that these capabilities are not beyond your reach. You are able to reach these no matter what your skill set is, no matter your level of education. All it requires is a little bit of hard work. And I think what's ultimately important is why we talked about tonight, not just Tech Torah, but Toronto as well, is that you are sitting here, of course, in the fastest growing tech field in North America. And this isn't something that I knew a few months ago. Again, not being in the tech field myself. This is an article I stumbled across, and on everyone's chair, every other chair, you'll see a couple things. You'll see a handout with the program for this evening. And you'll also see just a few quotes talking really about the hot space that you're in, just to give you an idea. In 2019, the last year where there was full data available, Toronto, the GTA, added more tech jobs than San Francisco, Silicon Valley added since 2013. This gives, I think, an idea in terms of the rapid growth that we're seeing here. What it means is many of these skills don't require university education, don't require college education. They require somebody who's hardworking, who's smart, who's innovative. But again, the question a lot of people have asked is to say, well, if we're in the digital space now where everybody's working remotely, who cares where you are? But the reality is, I think there's twofold. One is that we can't count on working remote forever. That's one. And two is, as those of you who would attest here tonight and really walking around the mall, walking around anywhere, people have this innate need, this innate desire to be working in person and to be networking in person, to be spending time together. And I think that that reality is never going to go away long term. More people will be working remotely, but I think the in-person aspect will never go away. So really, without further ado, I want to introduce our first speaker. And again, after every speaker, I'll just introduce them briefly. They'll speak for a few minutes. And again, afterwards, for those interested in person, feel free to hang around and speak to them in person. So first, for Dvar Chizek, I want to thank Rabbi Tzvi Sittner for speaking this evening. Rabbi Sittner grew up in Los Angeles, California, and earned his bachelor's in liberal studies from Thomas Edison State College, a master's in education from the University of Bridgeport, and a master's degree as a marriage and family therapist at Toronto University. He has delivered inspiring lectures worldwide, including South Africa, Australia, and of course, Israel. While learning in Israel, Rabbi Sittner received his smicha from the Jerusalem Kol under Rabbi Berkowitz and led Shabbos programs for over 1,000 college and university students at Birthright. He currently has a popular video blog on h.com titled Just Breathe, viewed by nearly 10,000 people every single month. Rabbi Sittner is the newest member of the Village Shul team. It's been 7 years, but he's made an incredible impact already, and he teaches several classes several times throughout the day and the night during the week as well. So Rabbi Sittner, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Rob. I think the intro was longer than what I actually have to say. I just want to start off by giving a big yesher koach to Rob Walker, because some of you are just meeting him for the first time tonight. For those of you that are, you need to know that this is a person who looks for opportunities to help the community, specifically the local community. This is really what he's all about, is whether it comes to helping in shidduchim and helping singles to meet each other in the Jewish community, whether it comes to opportunities like this, whether it comes to opportunities regarding Israel. He really is always looking for ways to help Klal Yisrael. And that's really, I heard a few people talking to him. Who is he? What is he? What does he do? Is this what he does? Is he, like what he is the person who wants to help Klal Yisrael. And what he gains tonight is just presenting an opportunity for the community and for people to be able to explore a tech space that perhaps they're not familiar with, or perhaps they are and they want to become more familiar with, or network within. So a big yesher koach to Rob Walker for putting this together. Just want to share a quick Dvar Chizek before we start tonight. For some of us, as I mentioned, exploring this space, it's a new field. It's an unfamiliar territory. I think one of the most recent stories that we just went through in the parsha is Avram Avinu. Comes to Parshas Lech Lecha. Hashem tells Avram, Lech Lecha me'aretzecha meladcha be'sevicha l'eretz asher areka. Go to the land I will show. Of course, we know he doesn't know where he's going. Asher areka. Avram doesn't know where the end game is. There's go to where, I don't know, but go. Anytime you're going somewhere, anytime you're exploring something new, there's always that fear around something new. Rav Noach Weinberg Zatzal once said, he said the word for yira, the word for fear is yira, and the word for seeing is also yira'eh. And he said the reason why the word yira and yira'eh for fear and to see is the same word is because the essential choice of life is to see the opportunities and to fear missing out on them. And I think that there's that very apropos message for tonight. So here we are, opportunity comes to you. You always have to ask Kadosh Baruch Hu, okay, why'd you put this in front of me? Why is this now? Why is this happening? What's the message here? Of course, there's still that unknown of exploring it. And I think when Hashem tells Abraham, Lech lecha me'artzecha, Pashup Pshat, the most simple understanding, everybody looks at it and says, okay, Hashem is telling him literally, leave, go me'artzecha, leave from where you are to somewhere else. But then Nesiv Shalom looks at this same pasuk and he B'derech Drush says, Lech lecha me'artzecha, go lecha to you, go to this new venture, go to these new levels, to these new heights. How? Me'artzecha, from where you are right now. Me'moladtecha, from where, literally from there. You don't have to wait till you leave to start exploring, to find a Kadosh Baruch Hu. You don't have to wait till you start doing it. Me'artzecha, me'moladtecha, mi'desavicha, from where you are right now. Go start that journey. And where does the Nesiv Shalom get this from? He looks at a Mishnah in Avos. The Mishnah in Avos says, Al Taimer Kishaefna Eshna Shema Lekipana, the Mishnah says. Don't say, when I'm free, one day I'll learn. Shema Lekipana, maybe you'll never be free, maybe you'll never have that opportunity. And then Nesiv Shalom looks and he says, don't just read it as Maybe you won't be free, but maybe you're not supposed to be free. Maybe you're supposed to begin to explore something. Maybe you're supposed to begin to learn. Maybe you're supposed to begin to on this new venture, even when you don't have time, even when you don't have the ability, even when it's not quite familiar territory. You don't wait till the opportunity comes to you, but you yourself make it happen. And I think this is what he looks at Avram Avinu. He says, "Me artzecha," from where you are right now. Don't wait until you leave. Do it right now. And this is really, I think, apropos. Anytime we're exploring something new, anytime we're approaching, here we are, a space, perhaps you're familiar or not familiar. But Lamaisa, bottom line, Kadosh Baruch Hu sent Rob as a shliach here to create this opportunity to network, to learn about new opportunities. And sometimes we might say, okay, one day I'll explore a new opportunity. One day I'll get there. One day. And really, we don't say one day. We say day one. Day one. We're going to start now. Now's the opportunity. It's come my way. But I'm not comfortable with it. There's some fear around it, but it's new. So what? So what? Me artzecha, me baladcha, me besavicha. We start now. So Mirza Hashem, this tonight should bear some tremendous peros and be as chus for Gans Kol Yisrael, help many people in Parnassa and to go la'ela ula'ela and bring chus to everybody. Thank you, and again, shukach to Rob Walker.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. One of the thoughts really I had was really one of the almost themes for tonight would almost be Torah lo b'shamayim here, which is it's not in heaven. Torah is not in heaven. The skills that you need to acquire to get into tech are not inaccessible. It is here, it is close. And I think perhaps nobody exemplifies that more than Menachem Feuer. I think every single person I've spoken to knows Menachem Feuer. And I think that really is a very powerful testament to how hard he's worked, really at empowering individuals to really get their tech skills up to snuff and really in many cases go from zero. Menachem is a co-founder of Adleg IT. He has been in the field of higher education, including teaching, designing, constructing, and overseeing curricula, as well as conducting research and publishing widely in peer-reviewed journals and book collections for over a decade. He has taught and developed online and classroom-based content for York University, Ryerson University, University of Waterloo, and U of T. As a member of the Adleg IT team, Menachem brings his communication skills, social media expertise, and academic oversight to advancing and implementing activities, initiatives, and ideas which will promote Adleg IT and its growth. Menachem, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I want to start off by thanking Robert Walker for putting all this together. You're an incredible person. The stuff you've done for Hasbara, everything you do, it's very impressive, and you're so good for the community. And I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. This is a really big step for everybody. Just to even be here in the space, it's a really big thing. I just want to start off. There's a lot of things that are going through my mind I could say tonight, but I would start off with, I spoke with one of the wealthiest Aksan in here, a very generous person in the city who we went for lunch with another entrepreneur. And so we were talking, and he said to me, Menachem, I'm really worried about Toronto. So what are you worried about? He said, well, a lot of people I know are leaving. They can't afford the city. It's too expensive. They don't have skills. How are we gonna keep them here? And I was like, that's a really big problem. And he said, I think you're a part of that solution. And I said, I hope so. I hope that's a big responsibility. But first, you have to have people come to the house. People have to come and show up before I can do anything. And I have to let them know that I'm here. That's the first thing. So one of the things I did, I was in academia I was a university professor for 13 years. I left academia and I said, this community really does have some problems, and I really would like to help it because I know there's a major skills gap, and a lot of the people in the community don't want to go to university or college to gain those skills. I understand that. So my solution to the problem is to bring the skills, bring the programs to the community, to offer programs like we started off with Cisco networking, then we went to AWS for Cisco Network Academy, then we were in cloud computing, then we went into full stack development, which we teach today, and data science and machine learning. We run programs and all of this. 10-month programs, 6-month programs. Some people, audience, have taken our programs even today. I'm very happy, thank you. And one of the things that what I love is when people come in who have no experience at all, and they're like, I want to do this, and they commit themselves to learning a skill they've never learned before. I've done this in Lakewood, New Jersey. I've done this in Brooklyn. I've done this here in Toronto. I've done this in Brazil, in Sao Paulo. And I can tell you, Jews from everywhere, all these places, they come to me, and a lot of them, some of them are very young. You know, I could have like 19, 20, 21-year-olds, but I also have some people who are in their 30s and 40s, and they come to me. And the people in the 30s and 40s really, it breaks my heart. They come to me and they have like, I have 6 kids, I have 8 kids, I can't afford this. And I'm like, how do I do this? I'm like, I wish that I got to you earlier. I wish I spoke to you when you were 19 or 20. And they're like, okay. I said, you're like an Abraham. You're like late in your age. Now you're going to start, or Rabbi Akiva. You're going to start late. And that's good. But you got to really put yourself in there. And I work with these people, and I've trained them, and I've got them jobs. A lot of them. Not everybody. I have like a 65, 70% placement rate. I need to really improve myself. I need to get up there. But I can tell you, Toronto is a tech hub. This is true. There are jobs out there. Today, I can tell you, I spoke with 3 employers today alone. I spoke with one employer, for instance, in London, England, who runs a thing called Poker Stars. And it's interesting. They're a huge company. They have 2/3 of the poker market. And she asked me a good question. She said, the community that you're working with, they have problems with doing this because this is gambling? Would they do this? I said, that's a really good halakhic question. She's like, what's halacha? I said, Jewish law. She's not a Jewish woman. So I had to explain to her what halacha is. But this is a great opportunity. Like, they want to do a co-op with me in this city. Should I take it? Yeah, of course. I would love to take it. There are a lot of opportunities. Then the next person I talked to after that works at one of the largest holdings companies. Like, I have 1 million customers. What's in this country? Customers. She's looking for data science people, and she wants to work with us. It's like so. The point that I'm trying to make here is there are opportunities out there. They're looking to help. There are companies that are looking for people, but you need to have people who are willing. And everybody who takes my program is an ambassador of our program, and they're an ambassador of the Jewish community. So when they go to these opportunities, I want to make sure that they're going to represent, as they say in the Black community, right? I got to represent. You're a shliach of us, and I want to give opportunities to do that. And that's a big thing with our program. Like right now, one of the things that I see the growth of the program that I run and the people is companies. Companies are our lifeblood. For me to do my tech training, it's great. I could do it. I could run tons of classes. I could run every year. But the key factor for me is the relationship between us and companies. And one of the interesting things I think here in this place, in today's gathering, we have people who run companies, who lead companies, who work in that space. And one of the things that I envision, I dream of, that I would like to do and to expand, because I spoke to 3 companies today alone, is to create a community, like a bank of like jobs and like a community concern where we could all work together to create opportunities, employment opportunities in tech, and then to reach out to companies who are outside of the Jewish community and to bring them in. And then to have talent. The big key, like Poker Stars, if I say yes to Poker Stars, we want to go run a co-op, I need people. If I don't have people, I can't say yes to their co-op. Like, there are people who come and take our programs, but we need a lot more people, and we need a lot more companies. So my vision is more companies, more people, higher awareness. People in the Jewish community know that the opportunity exists, and so that we could have more people, we could train more people, we could work with more companies, and we could create more opportunities for people. That's my dream. I truly believe in the business owners and leaders that are here today that know me personally, know I believe this, is that the greatest tzedakah of all, as Rambam says, is to teach somebody how to fish. Teach them how to fish. And then basically give them a skill, get them a job. It's better than giving them money. That Aksan that I talked to when I first came here, he gives a lot of money to the community. He gives hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to the community. But he knows the greatest tzedakah is giving them a skill. Giving the communities skills they need and jobs. So that's my main thing. I'm on a mission here today. I'm sorry I put it up here really happy, because it's a real problem. And I really want to solve it. And I know people don't like talking about it. I'll just give you one last story I'll leave with you. I was in Lakewood, New Jersey. We ran a program there. And the place we ran it at, we had like an open house. A lot of people came, like 30 people came, like this, an event like this. I talked about my program, and all these people came and talked to me and told me about their situation. And one of the guys who was working together with me in New Jersey, he came up to me and he said, people don't like talking about poverty in the city. I go, what do you mean? He said, well, this is where we're doing this tonight? I said, yeah. He said, see behind there? See that all that empty space back there, that warehouse space? I said, yeah. He said, every time around Pesach, they drop tons of food back there, like onions and chickens, all types of stuff. And they do it at 3 in the morning. I'm like, 3 in the morning? Why at 3 in the morning? He says, because people will be ashamed if they did it at 4 p.m. or 2 p.m. Basically, the meaning of the story is people don't like talking about poverty and problems. It's a big issue. Need to find solutions. And I think I'm dedicated. I really do think tech is the solution. Tech training, working together with companies, helping people get jobs is the solution. It's right in front of us. And we're in one of the biggest growing tech hubs in North America. So there's a lot of work to do. And that's the message today. I'm here to help. If you want to talk to me, I'm around. Thank you. Thanks, Robert.
Thank you very much, Menachem. And it really, as Menachem mentioned, the opportunities are endless. So when we talk about tech almost as if it's a monolith, but really we have people tonight who are talking from the spaces of gaming, from software development, from coding, from Salesforce, whatever it is. I mean, really, when we say tech, really tech has about 100 different subsets, and we could talk all night about those different subsets. But I think at the end of the day, what it really means is that there are tremendous opportunities for income growth. There are tremendous opportunities to make more money, to support your family. As Menachem said, it's not the cheapest city to live in, but the reality is it does have perhaps, in that same report, actually, it talked about Toronto being the fastest growing tech hub. It also talked about Toronto actually having the fastest growing salaries in North America in the tech space. So there's certainly opportunities, and that's not a coincidence. And that's a great pivot to the next speaker, which is Max Callis. And I remember I've known Max for about a dozen years, and really seeing Max, grow and become this really incredible, impactful, and successful businessman is so great and wonderful to see. After spending a full 3 weeks in the corporate world, like many others, Max Callis realized that he didn't fit into the box and needed his own path. So at 23 years of age, he started a digital marketing business with his brother and has never looked back. With a focus on strategy, he helps small businesses generate leads across digital marketing platforms such as Google, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. His company, Smarter Leads, around the world. He's spoken internationally on the topics of business, marketing, and personal growth, and he's worked with and helped thousands of entrepreneurs improve their marketing and business. He's also very involved giving back to Toronto. His passion for growth and helping others has driven him to succeed on a loftier goal to inspire, educate, and guide others to reach their potential in business and in life. And Max knows it's possible to get the life that you want without compromising on your values. Max, welcome.
Thank you, Rob. There's probably dozens of Frum people in Toronto that do what I do, so I'm honored that Rob chose me to come and represent this side of the tech business. I think actually one of the smartest things I ever was told in university, the 4 years that I was there, was someone said to me, I was taking business and international business and specializing in marketing. And someone said to me, Max, you really don't have to worry about like the details of what you're learning in university. He said, probably by the time you graduate, the job that you're going to get doesn't even exist right now. So how can they train you on it? And the reality was, he was right. When I graduated university back in 2003, and my brother and I started this web design and digital marketing agency, that, it was in such its infancy. People didn't even know what a website was back then, what search engine optimization was. We had to convince businesses that they need to have a website. And now you look at it and people, you don't exist as a business if you don't have a website. But what I want to speak about today is pivoting a little bit, because typically when people think of technology, in their heads, they think of two things. They think of IT, computers and hardware and setting stuff up, and they think of programming, right? And they look at those two fields and they say, that's not me. I can't be in the tech field. And so what I'm here tonight to tell you is that's not the only part of the tech industry. That's a very small part of the tech industry. In fact, I'll describe what I do and the people that I work with, and you'll see that the tech industry is so much broader and bigger because all tech companies need all the other resources that every regular company needs as well. They need salespeople, and they need HR, and they need accountants that are specialized in their tech field. But what I do, so I help small businesses grow by driving leads and sales using digital platforms such as Google advertising, search engine optimization, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads. But I'm actually connected worldwide with a network of Frum people that work in this field. And none of them are techies. In fact, I've been doing this for now, 18 years, and I've never written a single line of code in my life. And I'm quite proud of that and hope to never have to do that. Yes, there are people in the industry that they're front-end web developers or back-end web developers, and they have to build websites and they do the tech part, but there's a whole other side of the business as well. So I'm actually connected on LinkedIn with dozens of Frum women that live in Israel, in the US, and in Canada, and they're all sales and content writers for the web. They write sales copy for landing pages and for websites, and they work in all kinds of niches in the health and wellness, in the tech niche. They all have their own specialty. Some of them write like white paper guides, and some of them do the research for keywords, and they all work together and share leads. And I work with all of them to bring my clients that skill set. So if you're interested in writing, then you can also be in the tech field. I also work with people around the world, from people in the graphic design side of things, and they're designers, they're artists. And they would look at a line of code and they would, it would drive them crazy. But what do? They design all of the ads, the banners, and the images, and everything that goes into the front end of a website or any marketing channel, or videographers, and they do all the video work. None of these people are tech, but they all work in the tech industry. In fact, I'm connected, one of my clients, she actually, in the US, she runs a directory. There's over 200 Frum women in this directory, all in the digital marketing space, and they all network together and work with each other. And so why do people choose this industry? Because like what Rob said, it's fast growing, and there's, you can earn a good parnassa from it, but you don't have to be a coder to be in the tech field. You can still follow your passion, whether it's consulting and thinking, and that's what I spend a lot of my time doing with strategy with clients, or whether you're a designer and an artist, or whether you're a copywriter or a videographer, you can fit into the tech field. And there is already a whole network and all kinds of training from people to be able to access this industry if they're interested. It's available. The other benefits, and many of them, I'm working with people in Israel and in the States, and most of the time it's virtual. We can work now virtually. They can choose their hours and how they want to work. And because it gives them the lifestyle that they want, they're able to be with their family when they need to, but be with, making money when they need to as well, and balancing that, which we all, are faced with balancing. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, that when you hear, the tech field is booming, don't think, well, I'm not a programmer. I don't like math. I don't like coding. So technology is not for me. Many, many people have been in this industry for a long time, and we're not techies. That's not what we're interested in. But the industry itself is booming, and you can benefit from it even without those skill sets. Not that if that's what you're interested in, talk to Menachem and he can help you. But if you're creative, or you want to do strategy or consulting with businesses or design or art or videography, you can also fit into the tech field as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Our next speaker, Oren Rosen, is the founder and CEO of TimePlay. In traditional corporate speak, he describes his abilities as strategy, marketing, and sales. But realistically, he describes it as corporate chess, seeing the big picture of where industries are headed, seeing what's happening, identifying opportunities for growth. And again, that really fits in obviously with tonight, and ultimately helping organizations define their next moves for marketing, technology, innovation, organizational structure, and anything else they need to really pivot to growth. So when I spoke to Oren and I asked him whether he would participate tonight, Oren's a busy guy. He's the new president of Toronto, and he definitely has his hands full. But he said, really, anything that I can do to help, anything I can do to help educate people about the opportunities and the growth out there, anything that I can do to really help make a shidduch between people and the burgeoning tech scene here, and the skills that they need to be able to improve the parnasa, he would be happy to do. He is the former CEO of a global enterprise software company, which he led through aggressive growth and a successful exit. And his career has been devoted to helping companies and people realize their full potential. So certainly that makes sense. With that, Oren, thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Rob, for that. Always interesting as to what someone's going to introduce you as, and you should tell my wife because she still doesn't know what I do. So I actually started out my career as a con artist and quote management consultant. And so don't worry, I didn't know what that was either at the time. But basically, to give you the quick education on it, is after my university degree in computer science and business and my all of like few months of business experience, the company would take me and put me in different opportunities to educate people as to how they should improve their company, so the best practices. And so what I learned in that, because I literally knew nothing about business, but what I learned was how to get educate myself very quickly. And it's probably best described by a joke that I sometimes tell, where there's two people walking in a field in Africa. That's where my accent's from, South Africa. So they're walking in the field in Africa, and they come up on a pride of lions by a tree. And one looks at the other one and says, "Ooh, we better get out of here." He's like, suddenly as they're speaking, the lion smells them, the wind changes direction, and gets up and starts walking towards him. And so the one guy gets down and starts tying his shoelace, and his friend looks at him and says, like, "What are you, crazy? You think you're going to outrun a lion?" He says, "I don't have to outrun the lion, I just have to outrun you." And so that's the marshal for literally what I got very, very good at in management consulting, because we would get put in financial services, home care services, banking, like all these different industries, which I knew nothing about. But all I had to do was try and pretend that I knew a little bit more than the people I was working with. So very quickly, I got good at learning and staying ahead of the people that I was surrounded by. So from there, I jumped into and was consulting to a company, as Rob talked about, in real estate software. I knew nothing about real estate, but using my newfound skills, I was able to convince them that I knew something about it. Got more and more involved, and obviously did learn about real estate because I immersed myself in the industry and just learning everything I can. Ended up over a period growing that company and exiting, and that was about 5 years ago. From there, got into cryptocurrency. From cryptocurrency, got into healthcare. From healthcare, got into now this of another technology company, which is actually in gaming. And so the theme here, just to express, is that I had a background in technology was the core theme, but I didn't know anything about these industries that I was getting into. And it was all that early experience that I had in management consulting, just getting very good at learning about new industries very quickly is what helped me get into these industries and be quite successful in them. And so when I think about that, and I think about when what Nachum's talking about really resonates, that there's got to be the desire and the passion to want to succeed in getting into the tech industry. And so the answer of like, is there opportunity in technology in Canada? Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you that from our company, we're continually hiring. I probably have about 5 or 6 open job requisitions at the moment, and it takes months to be able to fill them. And it comes down to what in Viktor Frankl, he spoke about in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, is that the prisoners, those of you that haven't read it, obviously a powerful book, but he looked at the prisoners that survived the camps, and the ones that survived were the ones that had a passion and something to really gravitate towards. And so when I look at my experience, my trajectory, and all the companies I've been in, industries I've been in, the common theme is the drive to want to learn and grow and just be successful in that industry. And that's what's driven me and made me really passionate about getting into these industries. Just there's no shortage of information today. You can learn literally anything you want at a few clicks of the button on Google. There's so much information out there. You can become an expert just within months. I mean, Menachem's put together programs, but whatever you want to learn, you can learn out there. And so it just comes down to your passion. Just to give you a couple points of chizuk, like I talk about the 5 things that we're hiring for, 5 different positions. We use 2 main tools in the hiring process. One is called the People Analyzer, and the People Analyzer is essentially all about culture. So we've defined what the values are in our organization, and there's 6 values that we have. And so for every hire that we make, we assess them against the values. It's every company we work with, we assess them against the values. And so that's one of the key tools, the People Analyzer. The other one is just a 3-letter acronym. It's called GWC. So does the person get it? Do they want it? And do they have the capacity to be able to do it? So the skill sets. So the get it, it's do they understand what's required within the job, which you can assess that quite quickly. Do they want it? Back to, do they have the desire to really want to be successful in this? And then do they have the capacity? The capacity comes to the skill sets, which the skill sets you can gain. But so when you look at that and you do the stats, so one of the key tools is all about values, but nothing about skill sets. The other tool, the 2 pieces are about their desire and the understanding of the position. And only one is about the capacity, which is like a very small percentage, 15, 20% of our hiring criteria is about the skill sets they have. Everything's about the people and the desire. So just back to, to me, so much opportunity in technology, as Max talked about, not just coding, not hardware. There's so many opportunities in and around it, and it just comes down to your desire as to want to be in there, your why, your passion, and if you have that, then there's no shortage of opportunities. So thank you again for the opportunity, and I'll be at the table, so happy to answer more questions, and good luck.
Thank you, Oren. I think we have really one of the most quotable quotes of this evening, which is GWC, which is get it, want it, and capacity. And I think that really encapsulates the message, and one of the key messages that we want people to walk away with tonight, which is, this is, as I said, this is within your reach. It just requires that drive, that energy. And he said only 15% capacity, but I think that should be an incredible motivating idea, and I think it is certainly for me. Our next speaker, Ben Zlotnick, is the owner of one of Toronto's most successful landscape and construction companies, Eden. He is a serial entrepreneur who has founded a number of successful companies, both in technology startups and traditional businesses. He enjoys working with startups and advising them as well, and connecting people across all business platforms. He helps take companies and provide them with the knowledge to create the proper infrastructure that allows them to build sustainable businesses. And I think before I ask Ben to come up, the one idea I think that perhaps you're noticing again and again is that the tech field is so big and so dynamic, and there are many different personalities. There are introverts and there are extroverts, and there are techies and there are salespeople and there are non-techies. And I think no matter where you approach this, I want everybody really thinking about this and getting those juices flowing and thinking, boy, you know, I wonder if one of these is perhaps for me. So Ben.
So first of all, I want to obviously thank Robert and his Revitson for inviting me here. He's done a phenomenal job, not only in putting together this event for the people that are here right now, as well as for the people that are online, but he's been doing amazing work for the entire community, whether it's for his young leadership events, traveling Northern Ontario and Quebec. He keeps us all informed through online. So we really appreciate everything that you've been doing. Quick background on myself, like Robert just mentioned. What's a landscaper doing up here at a technology event? So around a decade or so ago, as I started to look at other different opportunities, I started looking at the technology field. Now, as Menachem, Max, as well as Oren have mentioned, I don't come from the technology. I don't have a technology background. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a developer. I've been in business. So I looked at opportunities as far as how can I get out. A decade ago, I started an incubator, which means we brought in early stage tech companies and we helped them grow, whether it was for marketing or product development, business. We actually put it all together. And at that time, although Toronto was one of the larger cities within the technology global entity, it was still in its beginning stages. And over time, as you can see from the sheet that Robert has given out, Toronto has really built itself into a massive hub. From the accelerator, from the incubator that I built out, I built a network not only locally, but also globally. And similar to what Menachem's been doing, he's been speaking with people, whether it's businesses, individuals, corporations around the globe, we're really ambassadors for what we do. And part of the point of that is how can we help others, whether it's being very practical about getting jobs, making introductions. And, I've dealt with probably most of the other speakers here tonight, specifically within that field, as far as being very, very practical on the job front within the technology sector. And as Max pointed out, and not to delve into it, but I guess be a little bit more specific around it, there are a lot of opportunities outside of being an actual engineer or developer. So many times people will call me up and say, can you get me a job somewhere? Do you know of anything available? One of the probably best opportunities to look at is if you go online, you go to companies like Salesforce, or if you go to companies like Shopify, if you go to companies like Google and LinkedIn, they all have headquarters located here in Toronto. They have 1 million jobs that are open. Oren himself has 5 jobs that are open. If you go on there, you look at the job that's available, unrelated to being a developer, could be in HR, could be in customer care, it could be this, could be in DevOps. I mean, there are so many opportunities. And you find a job, you apply for it, and you reach out to probably any one of us on the panel. One of us probably have a connection to somebody in that particular company. And I mean, I speak for myself and probably the other panelists as well. There's a lot of opportunity, and we can probably reach out to somebody that we already know. So from a practical perspective, if you're actually looking for a job, you got to go online, you got to do your research, you got to put in your time and your effort. The other thing they have to think about is, I know, Robert was speaking about, being very specific locally, but with this pandemic, the remote work has really exploded. And I'm not saying that it's going to be fully here to stay, but if you find a job that might be in a different city, let's say Chicago or New York or LA or Miami, they are open for remote workers. So you might have the ability to still live in Toronto, which you do, and work remotely, whether that means going in there once every quarter or once every year at this point. So the point of this is that don't just look only locally. I mean, there's more than enough locally, but if for whatever reason you feel that there's a fit with a position that might be in Chicago, there's no reason not to apply for it, especially today. They look at it and see like, hey, this is a remote job and you can actually go ahead and apply for it. So I think, just to kind of conclude, I'll be in the back. So if anybody wants to speak to me about any specific companies or ideas around it. But the main point over here is that you've got to put in the time, you've got to put in the effort in order to do that search. If it's specifically about a job, you might also have ideas about starting your own company, right? So technology, a lot of it, especially when it comes to startups, it's all about risk. I mean, you'll hear from Izzy very shortly. He's one of the other speakers over here. This guy put it all on the line, right? You have, that ability, and if you have that capability where you are going to take the chance, and not all of us have that ability because we might have a handful of kids at home, but there is that opportunity, and you have to look at it from that perspective. Technology is the future. There are thousands upon thousands of jobs that are available out there, and it just takes time and effort. So again, Robert and his Rebitson, appreciate the invitation and for being involved in this. And I know that this is going to be the first of many future events to come. And thank you again to Gamzula Taifa.
Thank you, Ben. Again, thank you also for reminding me. Of course, I neglected to give credit to Akiva Balter and to Gamzum Latova for live streaming tonight. So thank you so much, Akiva, for tonight. We really appreciate it. So when I spoke to our next speaker, Abraham Levinson, I said, I was telling him about the event, and I talked about the idea, and he said, I'm essentially the COO of a tech company, and I can't even code my own name. I hope I'm not, out of line for sharing that, Abraham, but I think it's a powerful statement, and you've heard it again and again. These are people, we have landscapers, we have business people, we have entrepreneurs, we have people who are regular people like you and I who have stepped up and not just only supported themselves and made a parnasa for themselves, but have made a parnasa for so many other members of the community just through that kind of GWC, as Oren talked about. So Abraham is the managing director of Royal York Property Management, Inc. He's been involved in the world of real estate for more than a dozen years. He's responsible for overseeing the growth of this company, the management portfolio. It's a management company that oversees condos and multiplexes all around Canada and North America. But as he said, really, it's from the tech field. So as I said, we've heard individuals in the tech field and gaming and apps, and we'll hear more. And we're very excited to hear Abraham talking about really from the world of real estate and how he's taken a regular company and really managed and exceeded all expectations on the tech side. So Abraham, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob, for inviting me. I really owe the credit to my daughter for getting me here. My daughter terrorizes his daughter in school on a regular basis. And so I just want to speak a little bit about what I do. So my brother and I, really my brother, started a property management company. He brought me on probably about 7 or 8 years ago now to help him out on the side. My brother knows how to sell snow to the Eskimos. Probably sell different grades of snow to the Eskimos. You want the really nice stuff out front, but the back nobody sees, so don't worry about it. But he's not the best at running a company. And so he brought me on to run a company to help him run the business. And one of the things that we learned very early on in property management is that everyone has to have a software to basically keep track of what's going on. Shockingly, there are companies out there in property management way bigger than us that are at some level running off of Excel and G Suite for Business, Gmail and QuickBooks. But we pulled the software off the shelf effectively, and we started using it. I'm fairly convinced that the developers that when they go up to Shemayim and the scale is not in their favor, they are sent straight to Gehenna, and their Gehenna is that they have to work on PropertyWare, which is the software we were using. And PropertyWare is kind of like, okay, we're going to take your left pinky toe to pick your nose. And you guys say, well, why am I picking my nose in the first place? That's not appropriate. But you do it anyway. And then you basically, by the time you finally figure out how to get your left pinky toe up there, you realize that it was actually your right pinky toe that you're supposed to use, and you're supposed to go from behind. Incredibly complex software. And believe it or not, this company is a publicly traded company, which means there's hope for everyone. So my brother and I, it's not going to work long term. We have to come up with a solution. My brother barely graduated high school. I didn't. I went to Cheder, Babu Cheder. I went to Yeshivas Nachal Tzvi, which, as I used to explain to people, and I'd say, oh, where'd you go to high school? So whatever you think extreme right-wing Judaism is, it's to the right of that. And then I went to Yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, managed to scam my way into university for a master's degree in psychology. So zero background in tech, still can't call my own name. But we realized we had to grow our company, and the only way to do it was to do it through software, because biggest expense is payroll at a company like ours. And just to give you an example of what we accomplished with technology, what we've accomplished is we used to have a position called leasing coordinator. They're effectively an inbound call center person, and their job is to answer phone calls and book showings. If they were a rock star, that person would book maybe 30 showings in an 8-hour shift. If they were good at their job, somewhere between 20 and 25. Today, if you're a loser, you're booking about 200. And if you're a rock star, you're getting through about 500. And unbeknownst to them, their job is about to become obsolete because we're about to automate the entire process. And we came to all of this just by trying to think, what can we do to improve what we're doing? And I'm going to kind of let it a little bit out of the bag what we did. So we use a software called Zoho. You can look them up, zoho.com. They launched a product just before we switched to something called Zoho One. And we really attacked this platform and really went at it. And I encourage everyone to look at this platform, because one of the amazing things about this platform is that someone like me, who, like I said, I still know how to code, I have done probably somewhere between 75 and 80% of the development and customization of what we've done to software. Because if you understand your business, then you're able to really understand, how do I utilize technology? The biggest downside companies when they deal with technology is they probably don't understand what their needs are. And that position, I can tell you, for any, as a Frum person, we're all trained, whether you're, for sure, if you're in yeshiva, but even girls, or at least I certainly experienced that with my daughter when she argues with me, is critical thinking. We're all taught to do that from a very, very young age. We're taught to question. We're taught to analyze. We're taught to, figure out, is there another way to do this, or is there a different way to do this? And that skill set is extremely critical in terms of being able to design a software. And a systems analyst or systems designer doesn't necessarily know how to code. It's probably helpful I've learned a tremendous amount. Like Oren said, I've basically picked up on the go. But it's certainly extremely helpful. You did a program like Menachem's program at Adelag IT, and you learned the basics of coding and just an understanding of what's going on out there, so that when you hear terms like API, OAuth, et cetera, you don't sitting there like I used to. Oh yeah, of course, APIs. Googling what's API, right? So all those things. So, but learning all those things, we've designed a system where we effectively have, I would say, probably 95% of the property management that we do is now done through automation. And Zoho themselves, and I don't mean to brag about it, but it's just something interesting just so you understand. Zoho themselves did a case study on our company. We're not the biggest user. We're not like they have companies that have hundreds of thousands of users. We're not anywhere near that. God willing, we'll be, but we're not anywhere near that. But we were able to use their system in such an innovative way. One of the senior executives of Zoho called me up. Very helpful if you speak Punjabi, if you work with them, because they're an Indian-based company. But they called me up and he said, like, we're really blown away by what you guys have done. So I encourage everyone to tonight open a Zoho account. It's free, even if it's a pay eventually after 15 days. Just mess around with it. Watch. There's so much content on YouTube from people how they've done this, and you can literally go out there once you understand what the core of Zoho CRM is and what their other apps that they have out there that are integrated. You can go out there and really build a system for anything, for anyone, and a lot of the work you'll be able to do yourself. And what you can't do yourself, you could probably find guys on Upwork to do. Don't make the same mistake I did, which is go hire the guy for $5 an hour, pay the guy $30 an hour, and you'll get quality developers on Upwork, and they will actually be able to really build a system for anything. I just did it for a company that we use on a regular basis for restoration work, where you have a flood in your home or a condo or whatever the case may be. This guy was literally running his company with 75 employees off of WhatsApp, Excel, Gmail, and QuickBooks. He had jobs of hundreds of thousands of dollars that he just forgot about to invoice to insurance companies. They would have equipment worth thousands and thousands of dollars that they were leaving all across Ontario. And I built him a system in probably, I would say maybe 10 hours of work, 15 hours of work, integrated chat for all of his internal chat for all of his employees, a pipeline to keep track of all of his work, automation for all his invoicing, automation for billing the insurance company, automation for paying all his vendors, keeping track of where his equipment is. When they sign out their water extractors and whatnot, they're able to track all that in their warehouse. They're able to submit everything on a job site or report on a job site, and it goes out to whoever needs to get it. Integrated phone system. Kid you not, 15 hours of work that I did. And maybe I have probably more of an understanding the average person because I've done it myself already, but 15 hours, and this guy now has a fully functional operating system. So I encourage everyone to think outside the box. And you, like I said, we're selling our software now to other companies because they're so impressed by what we've done, and it works for us. And they said, if it works for you, it's probably going to work for us too. So we use it. I said, I guess, I don't know. So that's what we're doing now. So I'll leave you with those thoughts. And I hope if anyone wants to get in touch with me, I'm welcome to go to the Royal York site, royalyorkpropertymanagement.ca, go to the contact us form, and just fill it out, and eventually that'll get to me. Just don't put in Abraham Levinson because they're going to have no clue who you're talking about. Just put in Avi Levinson, and they'll make sure it gets to me. Thank you very much again, Rob, for hosting this evening.
Very much, Abraham. And really, I'm just before we get to our final speaker, Izzy Rosenzweig. The idea, I guess, I want to get across is one of two things. One is which you're hearing all these ideas, and you're hearing Zoho, and you're hearing Salesforce, and you're hearing gaming, and you're hearing apps, and you're hearing, where do you begin? And I think really the first question is in your mind is, am I ready to be able to take the next step? And the world is my oyster. And I think the next step is, how do I get there? So we have a room full of incredible experts, and these experts are, again, they've given their time to be here tonight, and they've volunteered. And if not yet, I will volunteer them to be able to answer their questions at their leisure as well. So please feel free, those of you who are in person, speak to them. And if not, if you're watching online or recording, feel free to contact me at robertsamuelwalker@gmail.com. Happy to connect you and make an introduction to any of our speakers tonight. Our last speaker, far from least, of course, is Izzy Rosenzweig. He's the founder and CEO of Browse. Browse is a cross-border marketplace that curates unique products directly sourced from factories overseas. It describes the company as enabling savings for their customers by avoiding middlemen and brand markups without having to compromise on quality. They understand that online shopping, particularly with international sellers, can be an intimidating experience. I've used Amazon exactly once in my life, so it's too overwhelming for me. That's why all of our products pass a 9-point standard of quality test, they say on their website. So really, they obviously hold the standard quite highly. And again, with now all the logistic blockages in the world, no doubt Izzy is well familiar with this. But what I've said and what we've heard all our speakers say 10 times, the secret sauce to being successful in tech, whatever tech is, or whatever that tech field that you decide to pursue, whether full-time or on the side, really is about rolling with the punches and really rising to the challenge. And I think Izzy is certainly one of those people. He describes his company as making sure they get the best bang for the buck for their clients and constantly building a network of sellers around the world to find great products at competitive prices. So again, Izzy's business browse is a very unique one. Happy to hear more about it, what he does, and the kind of skills he looks for in employees as well. So, Izzy.
First, I want to say thank you to Robert for organizing this program. Definitely, when I got out of yeshiva, a program like this would have been super helpful. Getting out of yeshiva and trying to understand what you want to do for a career is very confusing. And programs like this are amazing. Programs what Menachem runs are amazing. And when I got started, there was Ben that very kindly 10 years ago gave me the earliest introductions to investors and venture firms. So again, thank you for having this organization. I'm definitely a big fan. A little bit myself. Again, my name is Izzy Rosenzweig, CEO of Browse. As he mentions, we connect factories directly to consumers, make sure that through the most efficient supply chain, allowing to remove as many middlemen as possible to drive the best value for our products to our customers. And when I was growing up, I was always fascinated by technology. But for me, like everyone else mentioned before me, I assumed technology, you had to have a software engineer degree from university, and you had to know how to code. And on my end, I don't have a high school diploma. I have smecha. That's my higher education. That's all I got. And but I was passionate about it. I was passionate about business, and I started the company to see where it go. And we got very fortunate over the next couple of years. The company grew quite aggressively. We're fortunate to raise some venture capital and really grow the business over the last couple of years. And as the business was growing, what I did learn is I couldn't be further from the truth. And as everyone mentioned here before me, there are so many different parts of technology. Essentially, every single industry will have a technology layer. So it doesn't make a difference what you're passionate about, as everyone has mentioned. It's not only coding, it's copywriting, photography, it could be videography, it could be project management, product management, HR, accounting. It's really endless. Anything that you are passionate about, there is a space for that in the technology space. And what everyone's mentioned also is that hiring is incredibly challenging for companies. We have a hard time hiring, either great developers or really almost in every department, it's very difficult to hire. And that's because you have a lot of US firms moving to Toronto, understanding the talent in Toronto is incredibly talented, and they're increasing the cost of hiring talents. Now, that's incredible for people looking for opportunities for jobs. To a point where even at Browse, we're actually working with recruiting firms that we find talent all over the world. We've helped people move to Canada from Brazil, from India, from Ukraine, and that's how hard it is to find talent and find great engineers. And we're paying market rate. And there are many firms, like I think Ben mentioned, Shopify, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, they pay salaries that we can never afford. Now, to my point before, you don't need a university degree. You just need to deliver results. And deliver results, university degree doesn't do that. And to programs like what Menachem run, and especially engineering space, which is the hardest to hire, to learn these skills. And as long as you get access and get your foot in the door, it could be starting at a small agency, at a small company, but you get your foot in the door and you start to learn about the technology that you get involved in, you could level up every single year. Literally every 12 months, there'll be someone, a recruiter or someone that will love to meet you and love to learn about your skill set and definitely pay your higher salaries over the years. So on that note, I'd like to thank again Robert and Menachem and all the people that are involved in these programs. Getting involved, taking the first step, getting your first job. Technology has been fast growing in the last 20, 30 years. It's going to be around for the next many, many years to come, as every industry will have technology layers. So you're not late in the game, you're early in the game, and taking the first step is the main thing.
Thank you very much, Izzy, or should I say Rabbi Izzy, for your time and your expertise. So just as we wrap up here, first of all, I want to thank all our speakers: Rabbi Sittner, Menachem Feuer, Max Callis, Oren Rosen, Ben Zlotnick, Abraham Levinson, and Izzy Rosenzweig. So thank you very much, everyone, gentlemen. And I also want to thank, as I mentioned, for those who are here in person, we do have tables at the back. We also have Shauna Walker and Rachel Kapp, who are working at Traction on Demand, a Salesforce partner, who are going to be speaking a little bit about that work, as well as all our existing speakers will be doing that. Really, it's funny. I want to just tell one story before we wrap up here. One of the individuals I was speaking with, who unfortunately wasn't able to make it, but was hoping to speak, works for Shopify, one of Canada's fastest growing companies. And he told me, he said, I spend every day sitting in my basement on my computer. He said, my teenage self would be so jealous of where I am right now. I never thought this is what I would be doing. And I said, is it as much as you cracked up to be? And he said, it's amazing. I'm able to see, he said, I have a meeting once a month. He said, I see my kids all the time. I make good money for my family. He said, life is amazing and life is great. I know he happens to have a university degree, but I asked him, I said, is this necessary? And he said, absolutely not. It is really all about skills, as you just heard. And as you heard all of our speakers say, really, it is all within your reach. And he also said, if you can learn Gemara, if you can learn Chumash, you can learn coding, you can learn software development, you can learn any one of these things. So really, this is all within your reach. And I think that if there's one thing I want you to be able to look into, again, is to be able to contact our speakers, perhaps no less than Onleg IT's Menachem, who runs an incredible host of courses and training sessions, will really give you very, very practical steps. If you're not ready for that yet, or don't feel that that's quite for you, certainly do feel free to speak to Menachem or any one of our speakers, as I said, Max or Oren or Ben or Abraham or Izzy, who are no doubt happy to share their expertise, because again, these are regular people who are able to make it to incredible heights and who want to be able to pay that forward and share it. So thank you very much, everyone. And right now, what we're going to be doing, those of you who are here in person, we're going to have some tables at the back, opportunity for schmoozing, for informal Q&A. So feel free to take advantage of that. For everyone, again, who's joining us on live stream, feel free to contact me for the recording, Robert Samuel Walker at Gmail, for any introductions to our speakers. But without further ado, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.